how none of our schools were built strictly on money from the school facilities board. If it wasn't for bond money, none of our schools would exist the way they exist today.
Yeah.
So
congratulations on being an A-rated district.
well, thank you. That's an honor.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yes.
These 3 schools being A-rated schools. What are your thoughts on state testing? Do you foresee any changes coming about, anything that would affect your district?
I don't think, I'm not 100% sure. Right now, it was agreed upon several years ago that at least we have one more year, because it was a 5-year agreement that we would use the ACT. So we've got one more year beyond this, and then if there was going to be any change, it would be after next year. Tom Horn and everybody at the State Department, they're looking at changing the elementary test, but nobody's mentioned changing the high school test yet. Okay. When they first started with this, there was like going to be a menu of option, and you could take the ACT or the SAT. There you had some variety of ways, but then it went straight to the ACT, and most school districts now are using the ACT. Number one, it puts everything on an even playing field, and number two, it's not a bad thing for our kids to take a college entrance exam and see where they go. Like I said, that's what I keep reminding people. Not only are we A schools, but it means that our juniors are doing very well on a college entrance exam. They're doing very well on this exam.
I was talking to Nathan. We've done a couple podcasts together, and I asked him today, I said, do you feel that Buckeye Union is a fiscally conservative district or comparatively to the others? And he said both.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, we try to be conservative. We always try to be smart, and we certainly are very conscientious when we're going to our taxpayers to have to help our district out. We want to make sure that we're fiscally responsible. So what I can tell you, when I started 4 years ago as a superintendent, there was no carry forward as far as our budget. There wasn't a savings account per se. And I blew my mind. And so it's recommended that any school district, at a minimum, carry forward 4% of your operating budget into an annual every year, so that you have a little bit of money to fall back on if times get tough. So we've been there now for the last 3 years. We've had about a 4% carry forward, which is not a lot, because we couldn't carry our whole school district for a year on our carry forward, but we could get by a few months if something happened. So we try to be very fiscally conservative. I think like we were showing you, if you look at administrative costs, that's a big thing in the public, is you can throw all the money you want in the world at teachers, but don't you dare pay administrators, And like I said, we're going to add some administrative positions up with the board's blessing next week. We're going to add some positions next year, because I have to. We're drowning as a district. We're so skeletal at the district office, we're not able to support our schools the way we need to. But with that said, we're still going to move up. Of the 13 peer districts we're compared to, instead of being the second to the bottom, we'll probably be the fourth to the bottom. So we are very, very low on our administrative costs. We try to put our money in the classrooms, and we try to take care of our employees, every year, so we can keep our good people with us.
So for the last couple of years, I've been investigating school districts and travel. And your district is always on the low end.
Oh, yes.
You of all the school districts I've been looking at, yours has historically been the least amount on spending. What is your travel policy?
Well, my policy is this. I don't necessarily have a policy per se, but what I can tell you is that we try to be conscientious of our money. So like for me as a superintendent, I attend 3 conferences a year, and only one of them is out of Arizona. So I'm going to the national conference this week, and they move that around the U.S. But that's the only one I go to that I travel. Everything else is either in Tucson or Phoenix, and we stay right here. So I think that's just our thing, is we try to only travel out of state when we need to travel out of state, because that's the only place you can get that. For instance, every year or every other year, we'll send employees to the ISD conference, the tech conference. Well, you have to go wherever that is. One day they'll do it in Phoenix, and nobody will have to. So I think that's just our thing, is we try to be, for me, I couldn't afford to be gone any longer than that, traveling all over the place. We don't do, we don't do board retreats outside of the valley. We don't do board retreats outside of our own boardroom. So we just keep everything as local as we can, and we travel when we need to, but not as a not as a luxury. I mean, so it has to be justified before we approve it.
What do you think of this state now coming in and making some legislation to try and kind of rein in the districts that do have quite a bit of travel?
I don't know how to. I mean, it's the states. Everybody should be fiscally responsible. I guess I look at it that way. Every governing board, every superintendent, of any district should be fiscally responsible, and you're held accountable to the people that you serve. You know what I mean? And so, I mean, I can see why we're coming in, and their opinion they're feeling people are, going there. It's too elaborate or it's too extensive. But then again, depending on the size of the district, it may or may not be. If I'm in a Chandler, a Mesa, a Paradise Valley, in big districts, then you're probably you probably have a little bit more budget capacity to do some of those things. Mm-hmm. But in a smaller district, we only have so big a budget. So we just try to limit. So I don't know. I mean, I appreciate people looking out for it, but I think it's really the responsibility of the superintendent and the governing board to make sure that they're keeping that in check.
Are there any other bills at the state level that you've got an eye on right now?
A couple of them, right now I'm the president of the superintendent's division for the Arizona School Administrators for our organization, and just a couple of things. The one that we were the most concerned about, the Senate bill it died in its caucus, so it didn't go anywhere. But that was, they were trying to push forward legislation that would require anybody going out for a bond to pass it with a 60% or better.
We can't get that here.
I have data, we've shown data, and even some of the districts that have been successful, they've pushed 56, 57, but nobody's hit 60. So it would do us in if that bill passed. So fortunately that went away. There's a bill, I'm trying to remember the numbers now, I don't have these on the top of my head. There's another bill out right now, and I don't quite understand it, but they're really trying to force, it's kind of trying to push the issue with mathematics based on how students are, like forcing districts to offer higher level math and pushing kids up. Well, I got on a call with the people who are bought it, and I just went through this course sequence in our district, and I'm like, I don't know what more you want us to do. I mean, we give kids are taking, in our district, kids can take very advanced math, depending on where they are. We offer it. So I don't know that I'm okay with it. Yeah.
As being a mom of a girl that took calculus, let me tell you.
I know what you're saying.
Stressful.
It is stressful. It is stressful. And so, anyway, but no, I mean, but other than that, there's not, obviously, we are always looking at things, but there's nothing really that's pressing right now against us. So
one of the bills that they have right now is requiring you to videotape your meetings.
Yes.
Are you going to do that?
I don't know if we're going to or not. And I guess this is the thing I will tell you about videotaping meetings. There is nothing in the Buckeye Union Hills School District that we have to hide. Everybody is welcome to any board meeting, and we do stream our meetings live. I can tell you when I talk to the people who are streaming our meetings, there are very few people who are watching them. And I can tell you as a superintendent, I think maybe one time in 4 years have I had anybody in the community approach me and ask me if it was even possible or want past board meetings. So that's a board decision. I will leave it up to the board on if that's something that we want to do. Right now, nobody has to legally record. I mean, you don't have to legally record, and you certainly don't have to put it up. What you do have to do is make sure you have minutes and done adequately. So we have followed policy the way it's supposed to be followed. I mean, I don't. Again, I don't have any, it doesn't really, one way or another, that's a board decision, whether they want to. As far as the superintendent goes, the way we do business right now works for our district, and I haven't had any reason to change otherwise. In pure honesty, I think the only time I would get concerned for anybody, and again, this doesn't necessarily happen in Buckeye Union, but the only thing I would get concerned with districts that are recording their meetings and putting them up is those are unfortunately the districts that end up all over social media and everything else when people are disgruntled or angry or they didn't like the last thing and then they use it to, either defame or deface or, a district and use it. Nobody uses those meetings in the new social media for positive reasons. Everybody uses it for negative. So that would be my only caution. Not that I have anything to worry about or be hid or hide from anybody, but those who are doing it, I wouldn't want the Buckeye Union High School District to suddenly be somebody's punching bag because somebody got mad at us when we're doing nothing wrong.
Okay.
So,
How did you come up with the idea for this education foundation?
You know, I have been in districts, in 30 years, I've worked in several districts. And in every district that I've been in, we've had an education foundation. And so when I got here, I said, you know, I would really love to get one started, but as a new superintendent, you know, you take one step at a time. And so then last year, I've kind of made it a habit for myself. If I start saying things out loud to especially my core cabinet people, then I hold myself accountable. So I told them that last year would not come and go without us at least trying to start a foundation. And so we did. Before last year ended, we started a foundation. And so I just think there's so many benefits to our kids. There's so many benefits to teachers. So that was my goal, is to get it started. And then we wanted, as we pushed, and I've been working with the foundation, I said, okay, now it's time to start telling our story and get our foundation out in front of the public so they all know that we exist. So this was our first ever. So this kind of inaugural run over the next year is going to be a lot of fun, to make people aware of our foundation. And I can't wait to, next, spring of next year, when the foundation is actually awarding, money to kids and to teachers and things, and doing the things that they want to do, as a foundation. So.
Well, I thoroughly enjoyed the luncheon. Thank you for asking, and
yes.
I wish you all the best of luck.
Well, thank you for coming. It's a privilege to have you here.
Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Bye-bye.